because we're dealing with fractions, we'll find a common denominator, and we're going to find the common denominator for the second fraction, so it's 8. So rewrite this with the common denominator. It would be written as x over 2, take away 2y over 8 equals 3. Okay, so I've just rewritten that with a common denominator. This was the first equation, and this is our second equation, right? So we have our two equations, and we want to use elimination method to solve this. So we're either going to add these equations together or subtract them. But what was the first step? What was the first step you had to do here for elimination? What do you have to make sure of? If I have x over 11 and I take away, let's say I take away x over 2, is that going to equal 0? No. If I have y over 8 and I take away 2y over 8, is that going to equal 0? What does this have to, what do we have to make this fraction? 2y. We have to make it a 2y, right? Because if I have 2y over 8 and I have another 2y over 8, if I subtract them, they'll be gone, right? They'll be eliminated. So we have to multiply this by 2. But I can't just multiply one of the equations, or one of the terms by 2. I have to multiply every single term by 2. So this has to be multiplied by 2, and this has to be multiplied by 2, right? Does that make sense? So we have 2x over 11, take away 2y over 8 equals, what was 2 times negative 2? Negative 4, and my second equation is what?
X over 2.
Yep, take away 2y over 8 equals 3. Okay, so now I can eliminate these two terms. I want to get rid of my y. So negative 2y over 8, would I add or subtract a negative 2y over 8 to make it equal to 0? Think about it. If I have a negative 2, right, and I have another negative 2, what would I have to do with those two to make it equal to 0? If I subtract, it ends up being negative 2 plus 2. Is that equal to 0?
Yes.
So we are subtracting these two equations, right? Negative 2y over 8, take away negative 2y over 8 equals 0. Does that make sense so far? So this is eliminated. Okay, so we subtracted the two equations together to eliminate y. Now I have to subtract every other term in this equation. So I'm taking negative 4 and I'm subtracting 3. What's negative 4 take away 3?
Negative 7.
Negative 7. Now we have to do this. And if you might want to rewrite it horizontally, we have, I'll write it over here. Sorry, let me write it here so you can see. We have 2x over 11, and we're taking away x over 2. We want to know what that is equal to. So you're subtracting fractions. I'm taking 2x over 11, and I'm subtracting 1x over 2. When you subtract fractions, what do you have to do with the denominators?
Make the same.
Common denominator. So I want you to do this part separately right now. 2x over 11 minus x over 2 is equal to, what was it? Negative 7x over 22. So this is our equation right now. Negative 7x divided by 22 is equal to negative 7. How do I isolate x? What's the first thing we want to do here to isolate our variable? Right, because it's negative 7x divided by 22. The opposite of divided by 22 is multiplied by 22. That cancels, it reduces to 1, okay? So what do I have to do to the right side? What did I do to the left side?
Negative.
I multiplied by positive 22, so I need to multiply this by positive 22.
Oh my gosh.
So I have negative 7x equals negative 7 times 22. So we know they have a common denominator of 22. Multiply this by 11. Multiply this by 2. So it would be rewritten as what? 4x over 22. Take away 11x over 22. Okay. What's 4x take away 11x? negative 7x. Is that what everyone got? So I'm going to go back. Negative 7x is equal to negative 154. Now it's the final step. I'm trying to figure out what x is equal to. Divide both sides by negative 7. A negative divided by negative is a positive, and x equals 22. It doesn't matter which equation we plug our value into. X is equal to 22. That was the answer for x. I'm going to plug it into the first equation, okay? So instead of writing x over 11, I'm going to put, we would write 22 over 11. Oh my gosh. 22 over 11 minus y over 8 equals negative 2. And now we're going to isolate to solve for y. What's 22 divided by 11? So 2 take away y over 8 equals negative 2. Well, what was the first thing you did? We want to get rid of this plus 2. It becomes minus 2. What's negative 2 take away 2? Negative 4. We have a fraction. What's the opposite of divided by 8? If I multiply this by 8, I have to multiply this side by 8. So negative y equals negative 32. What is positive y equal to? Positive 32.